After Sunday, the main focus should have been what took place on the racetrack and the great racing that we had. However, it seems like every single weekend in NASCAR, controversy takes center stage. Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Jett. Welcome back to an episode of Inside the Lines. Hope you're having a wonderful day. If you haven't already, before we jump into it, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more content, and tell me in the comment section down below your thoughts on today's episode as we are recapping everything that happened at Talladega. More so less, the bad stuff that happened at Talladega. If you saw my recap, we talked about the great racing that we had, but here on Monday, we're going to talk about the bad stuff, specifically with NASCAR and their officiating. Now, really, NASCAR and the officiating was pretty good up until that massive 28-car pileup with 5 laps ago. And there was 3 things that we need to point out. Now, if you remember last Sunday at Kansas, when Josh Berry spun on the back straightaway in turn 1 in that 2 or 3 car accident there, basically, the team said that the car was fine. They just needed to have, new tires because the tires were flat. They needed to be towed back to pit road to be able to work on the car and they can get back out on the racetrack. However, according to NASCAR's damaged vehicle policy, if your car gets towed for whatever reason, you are automatically out of the race.
All I know is that all those cars parked in turn 3 better not get towed to pit road, buddy, because that'd be breaking the damaged vehicle policy.
Now, if you're wondering why Josh Berry said that, is because in that 28-car pileup, multiple drivers, including playoff drivers Chase Briscoe and Chase Elliott, were actually towed back into their cars. However, they weren't out of the race. They were towed back to the cars on pit road. The team was able to fix it in order to try and get those cars back out on the racetrack to finish the race. So, form of inconsistency there. Ellen Sawyer, please explain.
As we went into this week, we wanted to err on the side of the competitor. Again, we don't want to put good cars out of the race. We had a situation in turn 3 where we've got 25 plus cars down there. We're not sure why they can't continue. We don't know if it's strictly because they're just in the grass, they're high-sided. So for us to make a determination that they've got some suspension damage and can't continue, that puts a lot on us that, again, we want to err on the side of the competitors. Once we got the 14 and the 9 back to pit road, they made their small repairs that they can make on pit road and went out and met minimum speed. So we felt like we made the right call there.
I'm sorry, what the hell is that for a response? You cannot just make up rules as you go, we're trying to abide to the competitors because it is Talladega. No, the rule states that if you get towed, you are out. That is the rule. That was crystal clear, right? But now apparently the rule is, we don't know specifically why you're on the grass. Like you could have been stuck on the grass, tires flat. Okay, fine then. But the rule states if your car gets towed for whatever reason, you are out of the race. That is the rule, right? Why are we now every single week? It seems as though that NASCAR and their officiating, they're kind of making up the rules as it goes. And you can't do that, especially in the playoffs. When you have drivers like Chase Briscoe and Chase Elliott who are racing for a title, if they were not allowed to work on the cars to get back out on the racetrack, that could have hurt them even more in the point standing. Specifically, Chase Elliott, who now enters the Charlotte Roval holding the final transfer spot 13 points above the cut line. That could have been huge if he was not allowed to work on the car because he was towed back onto pit road. So again, that explanation makes no sense. You have a rule, stick to it. The second part we're going to talk about is this clip that I got from Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s onboard car, which shows them stopped on pit road. Now remember, it's red flag. The race is red flag, meaning nothing's happening. You can't touch the cars. Well, then explain why the caution lights came back on, but yet the pace car was still standing still. Now keep in mind, this wasn't just for a moment. The pace car did not move for a few minutes. Why this is critical is because I mentioned those cars that are on pit road, the teams can work on the cars under yellow flag conditions. But with the pace cars still stopped on the back straightaway, they're able to work on their cars a lot longer without having the risk of being placed 1 lap down. Again, Ellen Sawyer, please explain.
We had all intentions to roll the caution vehicle as soon as we, pulled the red and displayed the yellow. And the race director noticed some things that were still going on down in turn 3 where he couldn't do that restart. Cars were still moving. We still had safety equipment that was still moving around there. So just for the safety of all, held the caution vehicle for a little longer.
Okay, listen, I get it. You thought it was good to go, but then you realized it wasn't. All right. Why not go back to a red flag? Why continue going under yellow flag conditions? If you realize, oh, wait a minute, the track is not ready yet, Go back to red flag. Don't just keep it at the yellow flag conditions, but have the pace car stopped on pit road. Again, what is this form of inconsistency and abiding what it seems like trying to help the playoff drivers get like a little bit more oomph to keep them in the race, or at least in the title hunt for the championship? This is not fair. The rule states, again, we talked about the first part. The rule states at the first part, if your car gets towed for whatever reason, you're out of the race. Second part we mentioned here, under yellow flag conditions, the pace car is usually rolling. Never is it yellow flag conditions, but the pace car is still stopped on the back straightaway for multiple laps, for a long period of time, for more than just a couple minutes. That pace car was sitting on the back straightaway for quite some time. That gave a chance to the teams on pit road working on the cars a lot of time to be able to get them back out on the racetrack without being risked going a lap down. And speaking of Ricky Stenhouse Jr., I mentioned how he won on Sunday, and I also mentioned the giant left gaping hole on the left side of his car. Well, apparently, according to the NASCAR rulebook, he should have had a penalty, or at the very least, he should have fixed that car. According to section 3.3.3.7 of the NASCAR rulebook, it states that energy absorbing foam blocks must be installed on the outside surface of the left and right side door. Not only that, but the door foam that has been damaged or crushed must be replaced. Door foam that is missing skin must be replaced. Again, seems crystal clear, right? Elton, you have failed to give a proper response the last 2 times. Let's see if you can do it a 3rd time.
Actually, that's news to me. That's first I've heard of that, so I can't really comment on that because I don't know.
All right, great. Save the worst response for last. You didn't see it? You didn't see it. I'm sorry. He's the leader in overtime. How do you not see it? And keep in mind, this was on the left side of the car, where you are always seeing the left side of the car. It was like it was on the right side. It's on the left side. You're always looking at the left side of a car because we're going counterclockwise. So you're always seeing the left side of the car. How do you not see that? It reminds me so much of Texas in 2022 in the fall when William Byron wrecked Denny Hamlin. Denny was supposed to get his spot back, and yet the NASCAR official said, "Oh, we didn't see it. We didn't know." I'm sorry, but how do you miss that? Especially when it's the leader of the race. How many times do we have to go through this? With every single week, it seems that we have Elton Sawyer give out, I'm sorry, but BS answers to the media about when they were clearly in the wrong, or clearly didn't just use the right judgment, from abiding to competitors to changing the rules as they go so that it's more fair to the playoff drivers, to completely missing parts of the rule book that they should be enforcing. And this is just a little cherry on top, but if you listen to Denny Hamlin's Actions Detrimental podcast, by the way, I recommend you do listen to it. It's a very juicy episode, the latest one. He mentioned this clip regarding the RFK drivers of the 6 and the 17 cars.
The 6 and the 17 had their roof rails missing after the race. Did y'all know that?
I didn't. You're talking
about...
about...
The 6 and the 17 had their right side fins gone. They were removed. Is it an accident that the 6 and the 17 both had both pieces missing from their car post-race? No, I don't care what excuse anyone tries to give.
Now, I thought he was just seeing stuff. I didn't think he was actually being serious. But if you actually take a look, this is Brad Keselowski's car following qualifying. If you look at the right side, the roof rails extend towards the end of the roof of the car. However, if you look at the start-finish line at Talladega on Sunday, part of the roof rails are missing. And here's also a clip that I got from Denny Delivers on Twitter that shows both the 6 and the 17 cars having missing roof rails that extend to the end of the top part of the car. Now, again, the roof rails are a very critical aerodynamic part of the race car. Did this help the 6 and the 17? Maybe not so much the 17 car, but did this help the 6? Possibly. I mean, it wouldn't hurt necessarily, but again, if the roof rails, because we have seen NASCAR penalize drivers, or penalize teams, I should say, for adjusting, removing, or doing something to the roof rail deflector, since it is such a very sensitive aerodynamic part of the car. Now, there's a chance that that could have flown off, but again, is there in the rule book that states that it has to be on? Because again, it is an aerodynamic advantage possibly, or disadvantage. I'm not sure exactly how it really affects the car, but I do know that it should be on the car. Now, the 6 car did pass post-race inspection, and you could make that argument that, oh, they were like, it could have been removed from the wreck. Okay, but isn't it weird that it's removed on both RFK cars. And if you look at that picture at the start finish line, the 47 has roof rails, the 24 has roof rails, the car behind them, Larson, everyone have roof rails that extend to the end of the car on the roof of the car. But yet the 6 is the only one that has it removed. Again, the explanation, no reasoning from NASCAR on that topic or any of the previous topics that I mentioned. There is a lot of stuff that NASCAR needs to look at in the offseason. Some that they need to have a hard look at, and some maybe they just need to oversee. That is not that big of a deal, but they should consider. But one thing they have to seriously consider, and LA Productions, his video holds so true, is that NASCAR officiating sucks. It is so bad and so inconsistent. At times, it is embarrassing. From the statements that Elton Sawyer gives, it's almost ridiculous. I'm sorry, but it's almost ridiculous to listen to what Elton Sawyer says, because a lot of responses he says either makes no sense or can be easily debunked in some way, shape, or form. Like we talked about in this episode, you stick to the rule book. The rule book states that, hey, Toad, you're out of the race. Stick to that no matter what. Okay? It's black and white. The rule book states that both foam and both, sides of the car has to be replaced or fixed in some way, shape, or form. Stick to that. If it's under caution, why is a pace car stopped on the back straightaway? Again, so many issues with NASCAR officiating. And while we should focus on the positives of what a great race it was on Sunday, once again, NASCAR and their horrible officiating is what everyone's talking about.
You can't tell me now about time. Do you know how many lines I done put down, vibes I done sent down? But we ain't here to dig. I'll up the market till they come red carpet the kids. Success still the target. Soon I'll be crossing that bridge, but can't bring everybody with me, family only. I got some people think I owe a favor, barely know me. That's why my focus on the road is all I know. I see them sticking close to play the wall.